So, I mean, let me just take a step back here. So, with most of these government programs, okay, I think it's very likely that they've crashed here. I think it's very likely that we have human biologics and that we have aircraft because that was testified under oath. Okay, so nobody wants to go to prison. Multiple people testifying under oath. I tend to believe that. Now, did they have live beings? I think if you look back on all of the stuff that's come out and this money spent on these programs and the whistleblowers and different things like that, I think they probably likely had live beings. They may have had contact with live beings. I think the universe is probably a very busy place and people have been coming for a long time. And I think it's also much more diverse. The world is not this black and white world that we grew up in. There's interdimensional beings. There is, smarter beings in the universe. There's all kinds of different stuff. One of the beings that they interacted with, one of the first ones they had, they said that she was like an intelligent entity. So basically, she could put herself wherever she wanted to be in the universe, like astral plane out there, and she could choose whether or not to take a body or, and go as a body, or she could just go in spirit or whatever. And so I think there's a possibility that there's beings that are billions of years older than us, that are way more adapted, that have insane skills that we could not even imagine out there in the universe. Think how big the universe is, and think of all the possibilities. Think of all the types of life here on Earth, and then exponentially take that outwards and think of how much life is out there. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. So, one of the interesting things they had is Project Looking Glass. And they had a machine that they built that allowed them to see folds in space-time and see probabilities. So they could say, hey, if we do this, what's going to happen? If we do this, what's going to happen? So they made machines that they thought could help them look into the future. Okay. That's fact. That's in these government files. Okay. They also, seem to have some information on portals and warp drives and things of that nature. They also have a zero gravity plane, and that's already starting to come out, that they have zero gravity technology. They have some planes and different things that they can fly with zero gravity. And that's a big, big deal. Then on top of that, they say that they have 0 point energy, which means they can make energy from nothing. And so if the government is sitting on, things that don't require gas and we're all spending $4 a gallon, I think that's a major problem. And if they're sitting on this crazy amount of technology that could change the world and information about our existence and the nature of our lives, I don't think a handful of generals should be able to hold that information, right? I think that should be out in the public where people like me can look at it in the media, philosophers can look at it, scientists can look at it. I bet you if the public had the information the government has, we could advance that science more in 1 year than these generals did in 100 years, because all they think about is cage the entity, make a weapon out of it. They're not thinking about the whole breadth of what this technology could do. And that's why it has to be released into the public. So I think that's a big part of it. I think the government has been lying about contact crashes. And I think at this point, they've reverse engineered a lot of the technology. It's super important, super powerful technology. And they're clearly lying to us about it. And I don't think that's fair to humanity.